most frustrating thing, says Chris, part of the Dolphins is that we suck at winning. We suck at losing. Never had the opportunity to draft first and get a franchise-changing player. No, man, there's been a lot of mistakes all throughout where you've had your opportunities and you've ruined it on your own. It has nothing to do with that. You know, you had a chance to pick the right running backs and the offensive line in front of Marino, and you have it. And you didn't win. You know what I mean? And then by the time and Shula couldn't build a defense either. Then Jimmy builds a defense but destroys the offense around Marino. You had a chance, but you destroyed it. So you kind of hurt it. And then Wanstead couldn't fix the offense because he was handed a defense. You know, it's just kind of like the incompetence goes all the way around. I don't go for the excuses. You know what I mean? Because Pat Mahomes wasn't a top 2 player or whatever. He was the 10th or 11th pick in the draft. And, you know, so anybody could have had him. It's not like a hard pick to trade into. Top 2 picks or 3 picks or 4 picks in a draft, that could be difficult. I could see what you're saying in that sense, but that's all excuses, dude. Our team has burned itself over and over and over again, and there's nowhere to point but from within. When you re-sign Joe Philbin and extend him, it's your fault. When you give Tyreek Hill the money for this year, that's your fault. When you hang on to Ryan Tannehill for 7 years and he's not the guy, that's your fault. So, you know, Chris, this whole, we're the victim bullshit doesn't fly here, bro. None of that shit flies. You can draft teams, you can have championships, and you don't need to have the top pick in the draft. So that's a load of horse shit. Okay? That you blame the Dolphins organization from Don Shula till now why they don't get over the hump. It's their own fault. You wanted a better offensive line, you should have hung on to Rob Hunt. It's your fault. Right now, what it looks like, you wanted to hang on to the more durable pass rusher. Well, you let him go, and his name is Van Ginkel. Okay? Even though Van Ginkel, by the way, had a lot of injuries here. He didn't miss a lot of time, but he was nicked up like crazy behind the scenes. And then he had the big foot injury, and they were afraid of, okay, he's 29. What do we do? All that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what that was the crossroad where they said, oh, we don't want to take the chance because we think he's going to have a bunch of injuries. Didn't happen the first year. He had an all, not a Pro Bowl year. He had an all-pro year. Okay? Van Ginkel wasn't a Pro Bowler. He was an all-pro player, which is a whole other level. So, you know, but that's your own fault. Nobody else's. You know what I mean? You can't blame anybody but yourself when you make all these constant mistakes over and over and over again. You got a defense and you can't find the quarterback to put it over the top in the early 2000s, late 90s. Well, early 2000s, because once Marino left. Once Jimmy and Marino left, once they had a defense and couldn't find the quarterback. Fiedler was decent, but never good enough to be a franchise-type guy and all that kind of stuff. We all know that, okay? So, you know, this whole, woe is me bullshit, that doesn't fly here, dude. You know, I've watched tons of teams in the last 40 years build themselves up from nothing and become, you know, Super Bowl champions. So I just don't buy any of that.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.